Welcome to the Diligent Observer, where we help angel investors see what most miss. I'm your host, Andrew, and every week we explore what works, what doesn't, and why through conversations with experienced startup investors and operators. Welcome to a special episode of the Diligent Observer podcast. I'm your host, Andrew, and today I'm excited to break down an analysis that we recently published called Angel Network Pulse, the First 101. This is an analysis that my team and I did on 101 Angel Network investments that we covered over the last 9 months through the Diligent Observer newsletter. The report was just released, and I am super excited to share some of the takeaways that stood out to me as we went through this analysis. I was super curious sitting down to do this, what patterns would emerge from looking at 101 deals, 72 angel networks, 15 countries. And so very excited to share some takeaways today. This report was produced in partnership with the Angel Capital Association. So if you're not familiar with the ACA, they are the primary convening organization that supports the angel network ecosystem. They produce fantastic educational resources, and there's actually a special code for Diligent Observer readers and listeners to be able to access some complimentary educational tooling through the ACA. So if you're interested in that, check out the link in the show notes. And today I'm going to be breaking down some key findings from the analysis. I won't be able to get into everything, but I will share some extra color that you won't see just reading through the report. So it should be a quick episode, and I am excited to jump in. Okay, so starting out, let's go over some of the key top line numbers, key findings. Like I mentioned, we had 101 deals that were included in this analysis. Those deals encompassed 72 networks. So there were 72 angel groups that participated in those 101 deals. These deals were located across 15 countries. What was announced was about $288 million in funding raised. Now, a key caveat is that only about 53% of the deals that we covered actually published target funding amounts. The other 47% didn't specifically indicate how much they would be raising. So that's probably about half of the actual number, which is likely closer to $500 million in total funding sought from these startups. My estimate is that the deals that we covered in this 101 reports represent about 8 to 10% of the overall angel network investment activity each year. That is based on the fact that the Angel Capital Association's annual Angel Funders Report tracks anywhere from like 1,200 to 1,500 deals a year, sometimes more, sometimes less. But if we're pulling 100 deals in this analysis, that's about 10%, let's say, of the total kind of annual activity. Okay, so some key findings. First takeaway stood out to me very obviously after doing this analysis was that Texas is crazy when it comes to organized angel investing. Out of the 72 groups that we tracked in this report, 10 of them were based out of Texas, and those 10 were together responsible for 22 investments. Now that's a different stat than deals. A deal is one company, one deal. Each deal can receive investment from multiple investor communities. For example, we had 6 or 7 companies, 6 or 7 deals that received investment from more than one angel group. So we track those a little bit differently. Each of those is called out specifically in the analysis. But point here is that Texas was wild, most active state by investment by far. Now that was at first really surprising to me because I would have expected California or New York, one of the more well-known startup hubs, to be that leading region. But I think there's a few reasons for this. I was actually chatting with somebody on LinkedIn about this right after we posted the analysis. I don't think this is indicative of the actual structure in the ecosystem. What it seems to me is that Texas angel communities tend to be more forward about publicly announcing the deals that they're participating in. And so as a result, we're able to pick those up more easily. Another piece as to why this is probably the case is that I am physically based in Texas, and I know these communities better personally, so it's likely that my team and I are picking up and seeing their activity more readily as a result of that. So I expect that this will likely shift over time, but it was interesting to observe that Texas was, so well represented in this analysis. The report breaks down the full geographic structure of all of this. Total of 30 states represented, 15 countries. Pretty cool. So check it out if you want more detail. But the key kind of geographic takeaway for me was that Texas is wild. Another interesting finding is that angel groups tend to invest cross-border. Many do focus locally, and that's where I've found many angel communities start, right? They originate with a focus on their local region, and those investments still likely take precedent. But in our analysis, we found that angel groups were based in 27 states and 12 countries, but the startups that received investment were based in 30 states and 15 countries. So we had some expansion beyond borders there. And the takeaway for me was that angel groups are not, as a whole, limited by geography, even though that's likely a core focus for them. Another interesting finding is that healthcare was the top. About 34% of the deals we tracked were in the healthcare space. And connected to that, AI integration and AI messaging was present in almost every sector. So 64% of the deals that we highlighted had clear enough AI forward messaging in their marketing content and in their deal announcements that our descriptions ended up including that AI reference as well. And so key point there is that AI is everywhere, and I think it's likely far higher than the 64% that we actually observed. But that was an interesting takeaway. And none of these are, well, many of these are not exclusively AI companies, but it's more of an AI infrastructure approach. And so we saw that across industries. We tracked a total of 18 subsectors, and we grouped those into 5 core industry spaces, of which healthcare and life sciences was the leader by far. So fourth interesting finding was around check sizes. So small side note, most angel network investment announcements don't actually indicate the total investment size. So this stands, I think, in contrast to many venture investments where a lot of the stuff I'm seeing on Strictly VC or other VC announcement platforms, VCs tend to lead with here's how much was invested, leading this round with a blank investment. Far less common for angel groups. Most of these investment announcements did not actually specify how much the angel community invested. A lot of reasons that is the case, but that was an interesting observation. The data around that is only 17% of the 101 deals actually specified how much the angel community invested. In contrast, 53% of these disclosures highlighted the total size of the funding round. So for example, angel community members invested in this company who is raising this amount. That would be far more common in our data set. So some of the numbers I'm about to share are limited by the rate at which those data points were disclosed, but still interesting. Okay, that aside explained, what we found from the deals that did disclose investment sizes is that they were on average about $329,000 was kind of the collective check size that an angel group wrote. Median was a little bit lower at 180K, but if we just look at the average, that represents about 7% of the average round size, which was $4.7 million. So a lot of seed rounds, Series A rounds, pulling that average up. But the point, kind of the takeaway here is that 7% of a round, 330 grand, like that is a meaningful check. And so I found that interesting to see that angels aren't leading, at least in our data, but they are providing a meaningful contribution to the overall round that a founder is moving through. Okay, next thing I want to share is a few behind the scenes nuggets into putting together a report like this. These didn't make it into the analysis itself, but I thought it might be fun to share. So first I want to start with a couple things that made this actually pretty difficult to put together. The report isn't all that long, But what was really difficult about this kind of analysis is getting accurate information on 173 organizations. So 72 angel groups, 101 companies, trying to pull all that together and make sure that it's correct was incredibly time consuming for me and my team. Just double checking things endlessly, definitely making mistakes. So if anybody's listening to this or reads the report and goes, hey, that's not right. Can you guys adjust that? The answer is yes, please contact us. We'd love to update the analysis to make sure that it's accurately reflecting what's happening in the world. Which leads me to my next point. What was interesting is that the startups and angel communities featured here evolve so fast. So an example is one of the companies featured in the report actually totally changed their name between when we featured the deal originally through the newsletter and when we released this report. So just in that 9-month period, I think this deal was somewhere in the middle there. So just within a few months of us featuring them and publishing the report, the company had changed their name, totally rebranded. And so we had to update everything kind of mid-project to match that, which was really, unexpected. Another company, I think, closed down or totally changed directions. So we had to make some adjustments there to make sure we were accurately representing their activity. So the point here is that these startups are rapidly developing, changing, and that was one of the things that was unexpectedly difficult about putting this analysis together. I think this also highlights the importance of speed in even communicating what's happening in the ecosystem. And this is why I get so excited about the fact that we're tracking this activity weekly. So every week through the newsletter, we're publishing, here's some recent angel network investments to know about, because in 3 months, those deals might look totally different. They could be onto a different round. They could exit. Anything could change. And so this live tracking is super important. We actually track and organize all of this through a publicly available database that anybody can access. We'll put the link in the show notes. But if you're curious what's happening in the angel ecosystem, just staying up to date and timely is super important. And so we're excited to be a part of helping people have a sense for what's happening in this, what is often fairly reserved and inaccessible space for many. Final thoughts. Organized angel investing is rapidly growing, and I'm really excited about where this ecosystem is headed. Angel investing in community is a fairly recent concept. The very first that I'm aware of, very first angel group was Band of Angels, formed in about 1995 in California, still in operation today. Fantastic community. Angel investing in an organized fashion is only about 30 years old. And so what's exciting to me is to see all the reflections of how this has developed across the country and across the world, right? 15 countries represented, 12 countries where angel groups were located. Like, angel investing in an organized fashion is something that is growing and is providing a really weighty impact in the ecosystem. 7% of the average funding round, 330 grand, like, that is material. And this contribution from individuals who are adding value through their personal networks, personal support, it's just so different from the capital that is received through venture, private equity, or anywhere else in the venture kind of capital stack. And so angels, while different from any other source of capital, I think in the right use case can and are a meaningful support for entrepreneurship, for innovation, and for the growth of our economy. And so thrilled to be able to just scratch the surface of what's happening in the angel ecosystem. I can't cover a lot of the details here in this breakdown, but wanted to at least share some thoughts. For more, you can check out the link in the show notes, or you can just go to the Diligent Observer /C/101. That's the letter C /101 to get access to the full report. It's going to include a full infographic, a bunch of charts, all the profiles for each of the companies and angel groups that are featured, a breakdown on the regions, the sectors, and then even as a bonus, I'll send you my 5 rules of angel investing if you subscribe and access the report. So check it out. Thanks for listening. And thanks again to the Angel Capital Association for presenting this analysis in partnership with the Diligent Observer.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Diligent Observer. I'm your host, Andrew, and if you're an angel investor looking for essential angel intel in 5 minutes every week, I think you'd enjoy my newsletter. I send my best stuff, interesting deals, and more straight to your inbox so you never miss a thing. Subscribe today at thediligentobserver.com.